Welcome back to another completely useless video, or if you're new, welcome to 11 of the most useless minutes of your life. We're done making teams for each of the top ODI nations, so I think it would only make sense that we look at all these teams and see how they stack up against each other. This will be man for man, and how they look on paper, of course. We have no way of being able to calculate things like dressing room harmony. In case you haven't seen the teams, I'd recommend you go check out all those videos, but here they are. The best team is pretty obvious. Australia. With every other team, there is at least one weakness, but that just isn't the case with Australia. All of their top 7 can make a claim to being a top 30 ODI batter of all time, and the other 4 can all make a claim to being top 15 bowlers, maybe even top 10. There's so much variety too. 3 right arm seam options, 1 left arm seamer, off spin and leg spin, and even a bit of left arm wrist spin. If we're being extremely harsh, we could say that our number 8 isn't much for batter, but as I said in the Australia video, Stark at 8 isn't bad, and neither is Warne, so having one of those at 9-2 isn't a huge issue for the batting. If this team could bring in one player from anywhere, it's really tricky, because there just isn't a weak player. Maybe Viv Richards for Dean Jones? Keeps things the same, but just a tiny upgrade. Maybe Dhoni for Bevan. They essentially do the same thing, just Dhoni is a little bit better and definitely a better boundary hitter, but you do lose a bowling option. Or possibly just lengthen the batting lineup a bit. Maybe take out Dennis Lillee and put in someone like Richard Hadlee. Yes, I think that's the best thing to do. Small upgrade to batting, more so insurance for the top order to go hard. I also think it's a tiny upgrade in bowling. I think it comes down to Viv Richards or Richard Hadlee, but those are such small upgrades that it doesn't really matter. I think I'll go Richard Hadlee. Then, for the remainder of the teams, I think we can place them into bands. Band 1 would be India, South Africa, and West Indies. Band 2 would be England and Pakistan. And Band 3 would be New Zealand and Sri Lanka. Second place is tricky to decide. First, I think we should compare South Africa and the West Indies. The batting is close. I'd say the top 4 goes to the Windies, but middle order definitely goes to South Africa. In addition, South Africa have Pollock at 8 compared to Malcolm Marshall. Now, Marshall wasn't a bunny, but Pollock was a genuine all-rounder. As for the bowling, man for man, it's close. West Indies have 4 right-arm seamers who are all top quality, and 2 mediocre off-spinners. South Africa have 3 top quality right-arm seamers, 2 pretty decent right-arm seamers, and a top quality leggy, and both have a good mix of right and left-handed batters. Both teams have excellent batting, and both teams have excellent bowlers, but are lacking a bit of variety, especially in the spin department. I think, overall, I'd just lean towards South Africa, but it's close. As for India, we're talking about the strongest top 3 of all countries. Kohli and Sachin are easily top 4 batters, no debate, and Rohit is definitely top 10. If someone said he was 5th, I could probably understand that. Looking at the 4 to 8, Dhoni is there, as is Yuvraj, 2 wonderful ODI batters. Raina, Hardik and Dev are probably not top 50 ODI batters, but they don't need to be. They just need to do their job of scoring quickly, even if they don't score a lot. Also, we've seen Pollock at 8 for South Africa, but Dev at 8 is insane levels of depth. He is not a miss at 6. Man for man, they're a stronger batting lineup than the West Indies, and look, I think, a shade better than South Africa. As for the bowling, it's actually not too dissimilar. Bumrah is of course the linchpin, Shami is a perfectly fine second bowler, and as for the third and fourth seamers, I think this is where India fall. Dev is excellent, but not quite Stain or Amber is excellent, and Hardik is a perfectly fine fourth seamer, but his competition is Kallis, Klusner, and Malcolm frickin' Marshall. So India still has excellent seam, no real complaints, but it just falls behind the other 2. However, with spin, India pull way back in front. Kuldeep is just as good as Tahir, Yuvraj is a genuine second spinner, and Tendulkar and Raina can pitch in too. So India have better batting than both the West Indies and South Africa. Their seam bowling isn't quite as good, but their spin is far better, and that gives them the versatility too. So because of that, I'll say India come in second, South Africa third, and West Indies fourth. One player that each team could borrow. Looking at India, the weaker players look to either be Suresh Raina or Hardik Pandya. You could replace Hardik Pandya with Lance Klusener. They do the exact same thing. Klusener just does it a bit better. Alternatively, move Couple to 7 and play someone like Hadley at 8. Raina could be upgraded to someone like De Villiers. Given how Raina is in the team for his batting, his bowling is only in case of emergency. I don't mind losing that bowling option. We could also take Viv Richards at 4 and move Yuvraj to 5. If anything, that gives us a little more bowling, so Viv Richards, De Villiers, Hadley, or Klusener all work. If I could only take one, Viv Richards. As for South Africa, Faf is rather like Raina. A perfectly good player, but the least strong link in the batting lineup. So, an ideal player would be a number 4 or 5 batter who can bowl a bit of spin. You know exactly who I'm going to say, don't you? It's Viv Richards again. Sorry to be boring. The good news is, West Indies don't need to borrow Viv Richards, because they already have him. However, getting a player for the West Indies is a little tricky. We are, of course, ideally looking for a full-time spinner. If we replace Hooper, that really weakens our batting. If we replace Marshall, we go in with 3 seamers. There is, however, a solution to both. The first is we replace Hooper with either Shahid Afridi or Shakib Al Hassan. Either way, the batting goes up a touch, I think, and the bowling goes up significantly. We could also cheat a little and go with another lineup we considered and swap Narain with Marshall, then bring in Klusener for Hooper. With this option, the batting goes up a bit, the spin bowling gets better, but the seam bowling does get a touch worse. However, it also feels dishonest, seeing as Marshall was my choice for the first team. So I think we have to either bring in Shakib or Afridi for Hooper. Shakib would probably stay at 6, whereas Afridi would most likely come in after Puran. I personally think Shakib is the way to go here. Let your seamers get the wickets, they're good strike bowlers, and we'll take a really good defensive spinner and a solid number 6, given that our tail is a little long. As for Pakistan versus England, England do have the better top 6, but it's not like it's a landslide victory or anything. Razak and Flintoff at 7 are quite comparable for batting, maybe narrowly Razak. However, you thought India's batting was deep? Pakistan have Imran at 8. Not as attacking as Dev, but overall a slightly better batter. And as if that wasn't enough, Wasim Akram at 9. He's a better batter than Stark and Marshall, who both batted at 8. And he's definitely a better batter than Swan and Rashid. So, while England's top 6 is better, Pakistan's deep lineup could be an advantage. As for the bowling, no comparison, Pakistan are better. Wasim and Wakar are legendary, and Imran wasn't quite as good in ODI as Test, but he was still better than all the English seamers. Add Razak as your 4th seamer, who I'd say is a little better than Stokes, and you're flying. Spin 2. Mushtaq is probably the 2nd best ODI spinner ever, and I think Afridi is a very similar level to Rashid and Swan, maybe slightly better. The only thing letting Pakistan down here is their fielding. We know they're just going to make so many mistakes. However, given the strength of their bowling, I think they deserve to go 5th. Pakistan's side has good balance, and I don't think we need to touch their bowling. 2 things I'm not too keen on is Rizwan and Afridi specifically opening. We can solve the Rizwan issue by replacing him with Dhoni, but there is a solution to solve both problems. Move Afridi down to 6 and play Gilchrist as your opener. I like this. If England could borrow a player, then it would definitely be Wasim Akram. Their seam bowling just isn't that good. Bring him in for probably Goff, you've really upgraded your seam bowling, added a left armour, and you've got a better batter at 8. As for Sri Lanka versus New Zealand, the batting is rather like the England-Pakistan debate. Sri Lanka have the better top six, but New Zealand have Hadley and Vittoria 8 and 9. As for the bowling, Sri Lanka have the worst seam lineup we've seen, and they'll get absolutely blown away by New Zealand, who might actually have the second best seam lineup. You can definitely compare it to the South African seam attack. Spin does go Sri Lanka's way, with Murali being the best spinner ever, Jayasuriya as your second spinner, and Dilshan and Aravinda can both chip in. This is actually really close. The easy thing to do is say Sri Lanka would win in the subcontinent, but New Zealand would win in Senna. Really boring answer, I know. I think if I had to choose one, I'd go New Zealand. New Zealand have great bowling, but their batting is probably the weakest we've seen. As to who New Zealand would bring in, the weak link here looks like Scott Styrus. He's here as a bits and pieces player. A good replacement would be a top tier batter at 6 or 7, and someone who can bowl a bit of spin. Anyone better than Glenn Maxwell? I don't think so. As for Sri Lanka, it's pretty obvious we need to bring in a pacer. And I think Ghana for Malinga is the best option here, to get in a top quality spinner. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, or if you didn't, hopefully you at least managed to kill a few minutes and think about cricket for a bit. Feel free to leave your own thoughts in the comments, and feel free to subscribe if you never want to miss a useless video. Bye all!